I have set the appointment ceremony on May 4th, and now I am selecting officers and holding induction seminar. How do I continue to select this officer in the series? 2, on the question of why I don't want to do much, but why do I have to get a position? I preached a series of sermons to you, and now you will receive a position. How should the person who receives it prepare himself? I have told you twice in a row what to do with your mind. Yes, but the sermon series is not very gracious, so I hope you will stop. I'm going to finish today and next week, and now I'm going to finish on all the attitudes we need to have as members of this office. So today, if we are officials, well, rather than being an enemy, we are working before God. How should we prepare ourselves as saints and workers? And now, finally, next week, what attitude should we workers have before? Now, let's conclude our loyal posture. I'm going to finish like this, and then I'll make good preparations for the first week of April so that we can have a certified church feast like this in the first week of. Come on. In today's text, what I'm about to explain now is the disciple model. Oh, this part of me in the past. 2, I delivered sermons in sequence. Who are the crowd and who are the disciples? This group, now it's called the thriving crowds. Today's text begins like this, with numerous groups together. Indeed, I went, didn't I? Jesus, the gospel. He preached and healed the sick while caring for them. People from all walks of life love Jesus wherever he goes. I chased him around. As elaborated in today's text, there are numerous groups gather around Jesus, right? But what about Jesus himself? Now that, while gazing at various groups, especially when it comes to Jesus, a disciple who truly dedicates themselves to following. Appropriate and fitting. The castle is indeed accurate. There is something in the heart of a Christian that has a hot heart. That I do not have a hot heart as a Christian. What does it take to become such a person? This is the condition being referred to. What you said. That's what it is today. This is the content of the text. All right, so here's the term water right now. Yes, every one of you present today, every one of you hearing this message are quite reasonable. Congratulations on becoming disciples. Let's proceed. Numerous individuals follow Jesus. Come on, let's go. The masses received immense grace from Jesus and spoke highly of Jesus. Now, likability. The ones who possess it. So you're not following Jesus, right? When discussing the present day, it is probably the case. All Christians worldwide. I assume you are able to identify these groups, correct? Therefore, as I participate in my Sunday service, I express words of grace. Listen to more of God's grace. Come and join us at the table where we experience God's grace in our everyday lives. In search of blessings. Such a common one. Saints. But what about Jesus? The kind. To degrees. Don't stay in that group. Stay in that group, right? Are you unsure? You are not telling me to be a disciple. Be a disciple and follow. So who is the disciple truly being referred to in today's text? Jesus? Among those groups, to really understand what becoming a true disciple entails, they said it should be like this. 2 things. You're elaborating on the required conditions. The first of those 2 conditions is verse 26. Anything to me. Oh! Parents, wife, and brothers and sisters, and more. You have to hate your own life. Yes. What if you don't hate this? You simply cannot be considered my disciple. That's exactly what you're saying, isn't it? Where is the second condition? 27. It's a clause, section 27. Take up your cross now? You must be the chosen one to carry me. Indeed, I mean you will become my disciple. If you fail to lose this cross, you cannot be a disciple, right? I did. You will not be my disciple.
Hey, what about this?
Well, this is indeed frightening. So how can this possibly be?
How do you do this to become a disciple?
I can't do this. It is a circumstance you cannot adhere to. No, how could you endanger your family or even jeopardize your own life?
Again,
Carry the cross and follow this path? Do you imply possible? Possible indeed?
I mean,
We have a family.
what do you love?
Is this wrong? It's an inherent narrative. It is incorrect to love and cherish me. No. It is natural. Absolutely. No. It is the correct course of action. It is so overwhelming and demanding that you cannot shoulder the cross and avoid harming others.
Within the scope of that,
It is wrong to get out of the way of the cross that is difficult and unbearable. Absolutely. Is it really that bad? Oh, feel free to do whatever you want. We understand, and I deeply love my family. That's my inalienable right, a fundamental right that no one can strip away or deny. The mission of this cross is valid as long as it harms no one.
well, it can be simply avoided by rotating like this, as long as it does not cause any harm to others.
No, unfortunately, I cannot. What you say you can't do might actually be possible. It's an undeniable right.
Yes, we definitely can do that.
By the way, is Jesus' life meant to be this way? It is completely incorrect. It is utterly unfair. Every wrongdoing needs to be acknowledged. You might not be explicitly stating that, but let's face it, that's the reality. It's bad, it's a sin. While you don't openly express that, do you wish to become my follower? With deepest regards, Jesus. The type that adheres faithfully. Do you really want to be a disciple?
That
It goes without saying that he undeniably earns that right, including inherent rights from nature. I mentioned the necessity of surrendering. Indeed, there is. The disciples of Jesus, therefore, the disciples of Jesus that Jesus requires and wants, are many people who diligently serve, worship, and follow Jesus. But to be a disciple of Jesus is not satisfied with that position. It is good, it is right, it is good. But there, we must strive to exceed that status and achieve something greater. I'm saying it genuinely works.
it is.
What does it mean, even if parents, siblings, and children refuse to carry the cross? What does giving up your life truly signify?
Sacrifice.
Yes, sacrifice. So we call it the spirit of sacrifice. Sacrifice. In a single word, it's Jesus. To be a true disciple, you must have some spirit. Even if you don't like any spirit, you must answer, yes, the spirit of sacrifice. Don't you like it? Well, why?
Sacrifice.
You don't want to sacrifice me? Oh, that's natural, of course.
Who?
Would you like to sacrifice? However, at the beginning of our mission to Korea, a missionary named Avilis Anderson from the United States. I am now coming to Korea to do missionary work. When he came and started the Zayang Church, his wife, Lillian Anderson, passed away in Korea, floated in a bottle. So he is no longer going to his hometown, but is still buried on Korean soil. Where are the missionaries' graves? Is it in Yanghwa-jin? It's in Yanghwa-jin. Therefore, even now, It is said that all the saints who are selected as anti-missionaries at Uncle Lee, Yanghua's Ajayang Church, visit Yanghua together and visit the gravesite of missionary Li Lilian,
living a life of faith in the position of ordinary saints. Now, an important church.
If they are chosen for this position, they will all be chosen for this position.
Looking for,
in particular, the missionary of Mrs. Ilya Nansen, who first established their church, visits her grave and pays homage. Why do they do that? Why do you do that? It's obvious. This is to remember the sacrificial spirit of this missionary and his wife who came to this distant place called Joseon to preach the gospel and build a church, and finally sacrifice their lives here, and furthermore to visit that cemetery, Hangyonggi. They are now Christ, the disciple of God. In order to be a worker and to make sacrifices and dedication like them, we are saying that we are going to visit the graveyard of missionary William Enns of Li Yang Huajin. Now, like this.
that is,
Why should we emulate that spirit of sacrifice?
right away.
Because God desires it. But why does God want us to? Will the Lord come first in our lives? Who did you sacrifice for? Because he sacrificed for us all.
Us. For the Lord first sacrificed his magnificent and glorious abode in the celestial heavens. Us.
God first came to this world. He sacrificed his entire existence. God is certainly not for us in reality, for the sake of Jesus Christ, our Redeemer. You are inquiring if it is within your ability to accomplish that. If the persecution of Christians in the current era is as severe as it was historically then.
In the ancient times of the Roman Empire, Christians faced crucifixion, hanging upside down,
Burned on a playground with lions. Hungry lions starved for days, which led to driving the Greeks there and releasing the lions so that the starving beasts could devour them entirely. But today we are too.
Can you do that?
Among us, how many people will be willing to sacrifice what you can give up? How much are you truly capable of?
Must remember,
Absolutely. Deserved and inherent rights. What if I cannot relinquish my rightful authority and therefore am unable to achieve something extraordinary and right? We tirelessly devote ourselves to Jesus' teachings, to the multitude that follows him. You may be a complex person, but you can never attain the true path of being a disciple of Jesus. Therefore, Jesus emphasizes in today's text that in order to be his disciple, one must have a spirit of sacrifice.
2 illustrative parables.
You said it. The first illustration conveys anticipation.
It's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor for architecture. Which of you wants to build a tower? And what he has will suffice to complete it.
Sit down first. Won't you calculate the cost?
This is verse 28. Before one attempts to build a tower, they should first start construction. Do I have enough money to finish this project? Shouldn't you calculate it first? Skipping this step and starting without calculating might lead to not finishing and causing significant damage. As stated in verses 29 to 30, if you lay the foundation but fail to complete the project, the consequences could be severe. Everyone watching laughed and said, this man started construction and failed to succeed. Wouldn't you blame this?
I say this wholeheartedly. Consider another example. War. The story of a king preparing for battle. When one king decides to wage war against another.
Hey, we have 10,000 soldiers while there are 20,000 soldiers over there right now.
Facing 20,000 soldiers here at this moment.
Can we defeat their soldiers? Shouldn't you calculate it? But if not, Then reconsider. I don't think I can win, but I don't think I can do it.
Don't fight. What do you do first?
Send an envoy.
Shouldn't you be asking for absolute certainty in this situation, just like that?
He eloquently speaks in verse 30.
There is a critical point that these two metaphors share. If one does not finish it all the way to the end. Win until the end, right?
If you can't do it, you can't do it better than you didn't start.
Yes, laying the foundation. Oh, I laid the foundation to build that tower. We finished about half of the construction. But now I'm more.
More money has fallen.
That construction is halted.
I threw it away.
In comparison to when he finalized the tower, he mentioned that around half of the construction had been completed.
What portion of the profit equates to half of the balance returns? It's definitively not half.
Degree of.
Even if the construction is carried out, it will not be completed.
Because he is unable to accomplish it, he gains no advantage. Rather, he experiences roughly half the loss.
There is, right?
So one so far.
Every possible effort is being made.
Yes, and war as well.
Launch an attack on the enemy forces.
The aim of war is to win repeatedly. However, regardless of how many victories you achieve, isn't it necessary to continue fighting until the final surrender is obtained to ultimately succeed and claim victory? So, surrender.
Don't accept it just like that. Why should you? Head.
Explode.
What happens if you cease fighting?
So what could be the potential advantages here?
That information wasn't provided.
That
the harm will inevitably come back to the nation and its monarch. That's all.
Therefore, after discussing these two parables of Jesus, would you reach this conclusion? It's clearly 33. 33.
Let us begin reading it together. Let's start. Yes.
Now here.
A point of focus. What is it? All things possessed. I shall dedicate my all to the Lord till the very end.
There should be.
Jesus.
Achieving the status of a genuine disciple?
Yes. The verse for today's speech is concise, comprising under 10 verses. Yet within it we find ourselves. It is an extremely vital condition to be an authentic disciple of God, far more with Jesus than with others.
Important relationship.
You must carefully take it into account the next occasion.
Even my entire existence and being.
You ought to possess the capability. Why is it limited to one individual?
Including my whole life.
You should be able to.
That constitutes true devotion. The path of the cross and the journey of discipleship. Right in the midst.
The Lord explicitly warns of the dangers and suffering when it ceases, correct? When I contemplate these matters thoroughly, oh, indeed this. It is never straightforward. By the way,
how do we decide and accomplish this significantly challenging task?
This matter at hand.
Would you seriously request something so absurd? Isn't it unfeasible?
I thought about it that way, but when I thought about it carefully, I believed it was achievable to grant him the top position. At this moment, the collective sentiment.
The first place.
What exactly is it? The preeminent position of the heart.
We are in the company of individuals.
In our interpersonal relationships with others.
Are you engaged?
So who exactly are you?
Talk about marriage, get married. You know, the instant you decide to marry this person, that significant moment, then the moment of decision must not be shaken.
That moment of choice remains steady. Hence, the marriage proceeds.
When I didn't decide the right moment of that decision,
it's shaking, right?
The moment you make that decision in your mind about that person,
embrace it all, correct?
Call it the first place in my mind.
Indeed, of that emotion.
What if you devote your primary position to God for all aspects of your life?
There is truly nothing that is impossible when done with the Lord's guidance.
This.
None.
Who is at the top of our minds?
Perhaps in various human relationships. The primary position in our hearts will encompass a wife, a husband, children, parents, and also Him.
It is a place that cannot be compared to anyone. I guess so. Incomparable to anyone and anyone.
Take your seat once more.
The foremost position in our hearts.
Are there any others? Perhaps colleagues, juniors, neighbors, disciples, or teachers whom I deeply trust, love, and cherish, right?
Concerning them in more detail.
The unwavering assurance in my heart remains firm.
Others simply resort to cursing.
Regardless of what I say, my affection remains unchanged. I genuinely love it.
However, you hold the highest place in our hearts.
You're requesting my presence.
Even when we make important choices in our lives, Jesus is the first place in our hearts.
I sincerely hope you can relinquish it.
There you are. No matter your actions, your top priority should be Jesus. The most crucial aspect is to pray and engage with the church. When we dedicate the premier place in our hearts to the Lord regarding material possessions, we prosper.
Material is of utmost importance to consider.
The first priority,
becoming God.
When that happens,
it's possible to be sinners in the eyes of God, truly a notion. Who is the real wife? When I call on the Lord with my lips, the real master for me may not be the Lord, but myself. So that,
no matter what,
our priority should be to think of tomorrow, be it in church or considering the Lord's plans.
What if it interferes with my work?
Do you feel bad?
I don't appreciate being relegated to second place.
I am not just the Lord's disciple, but one who navigates life by mastering it. If the Lord truly governs my life, He deserves the utmost priority in my heart.
That's what I said today.
This is the message God communicates to us, reaching beyond the mere words of our confessions.
Let's get the first place.
What do you think about Jesus when you give your offerings to the Lord?
Numerous impurities.
Not one in the middle. Please recognize us as true disciples who wholeheartedly follow Jesus and firmly believe that God's divine hand will guide our lives. We express our gratitude for God's abundant grace. Today marks the beginning of a new life dedicated to Jesus through His valuable teaching. I observed the nurturing nature of it. However, if I truly dedicate myself and place the Lord at the forefront of my heart, what will become of me? What will become of my life? We firmly trust that God will handle everything. Pray, O Lord, that you may be faithful, and that you may be faithful to the Lord, and that you may be faithful to the Lord. Pray in the name of Jesus. Amen.